Hi everyone, let's go ahead and start this new playthrough of Factorio. What we're going to be playing today is a mod pack called Seablock. It's one of my favorite mod packs. It is a very detail-oriented mod pack with lots of recipes and lots of complicated chains. If you haven't played Factorio, I might do a vanilla playthrough. It's not my preferred play mode, but I will take it into consideration. Factorio is a factory building game. So we're going to start this with single player, new game. We're going to do the free play because I've already done the tutorial, so I don't need to do that. I've got a bunch of quality of life mods, and we're going to go ahead and do this. Now, C block, you start on a C block. Water, cliffs, enemy. We're leaving these all default. Map. Default size, recipes normal, technology normal, price multiplier normal. Research queue is always available because I like the research queue. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but I always leave it open. We're going to leave pollution off because that just makes the game unnecessarily hard. And here we go. So, this is Factorio Free Play. You start in the middle of nowhere, on a world of nowhere, surrounded in every direction by water and islands. As we can see, sometimes there's stuff on these islands, sometimes not so much. So this is the map. This is the research screen. We'll cover all this in detail. Here are my tips that come from, playing with the C block pack. This is FNEI, which is Factorio, not enough items. It lists every recipe in the game. With a planner from Hellmod for customizing production trees and figuring out how many of what you need. Inserters, they can be toggled. This is my character, and we're going to go ahead and change his color to that. Okay. I forgot to have a mod enabled that I really do like to have. It's called Chunky Chunks. It allows me to view chunk lines, which for me is quite helpful. We're going to play with alt mode enabled, which lets you see what's in resources and stuff, like these chests. And we'll explain all this in detail as we continue. So first of all, you're going to open this chest. This chest is titled Home, because this is the home chest. This is where you start. We're going to pull the sand out. I'm not pulling anything else out to start with. We're going to put the sand on action bar there. Plus on the number pad to increase size, minus to decrease. We're making one chunk. Which is roughly this 16 by 16 block. Yes, it is 32 by 32. And we are making two chunks and then mining the desert gardens because we're going to need them. The binifran is what we'll be using a lot later. Like, a lot. Okay. Then we're going to come in here. We're going to pick up all of this. Because we're going to need all of this for right now. So, in order to do this particular mod pack, the goal is to build a starship from seawater. That sounds hard, but it's actually not as hard as you'd think. It's just complicated, convoluted, and involved. We'll go with involved. So first of all, we're going to open up the planner so you can see what's going on. We're going to start a recipe. This shows all the recipes, but I'm going to not worry too much about the ones that we don't have. So first of all, what we need is resource refining. And we need to do mineralized water crystallization because we need sapphirite and steatite. Sapphirite and steatite are the ores that make the first ores. Iron and copper, which is what we need. Sapphirite makes iron, steatite makes copper. So we're going to do a mineralized water crystallization. And now we've made that into part of this recipe. We're going to go up a level. And we're going to say I want 1. We're not actually going to make 1 at a time because that's way more water than we can actually produce. So if we put this as half, quarter, that's more reasonable. So we're going to use the crushed stone to make the water. And you can click on the ingredients to get the direct link to the recipe in this hell mod. It needs crushed stone and water. So now, for that, to make crushed stone, we're going to have to do slag, because we can't do the sapphirite or steatite into stone because we don't have any. We're trying to get it. So we're going to do slag. And we'll cover all this in depth in a second, because we're just building the whole recipe out first. To get slag, we're going to need to do dirt water electrolysis. So we're going to go here. We said we need 1 crystallizer, 1 crusher. So that required 5 copper pipes, which we only had 5 of, so we can only make that. We need 1 stone furnace, which requires 5 stone, which we have. We have 65 of it. And it requires a stone furnace, which this will auto make, but we're going to show how this works here. So you can make a stone furnace here under the production tab, makes 1 stone furnace for 5 stone. Then a crusher makes 5 more stone and the stone furnace and makes the crusher. You can see it crafting down here in this corner. We're then going to need an offshore pump to pull up the water from the ocean, because you don't get a bucket, it's all mechanical. That pump will use 1 pipe, 10 iron gears, and 2 basic circuits. So we have stone pipes. This requires an iron pipe. We have 22 iron pipes. We have iron plates, and we have iron gears. We cannot make them ourselves yet, so we're just gonna make 1. We're gonna be very careful with how much we're making. We're gonna need a petrochemical refining, which is where you find the dirt water electrolysis recipe. You also find liquefiers here, which requires a underground pipe, stone bricks, and iron plate. As you can see, we have exactly enough iron pipes for the liquefier. And then an electrolysis machine, and that's all that we can make. We no longer have the iron rods to make the rest. We're also going to need to burn off the excess oxygen and hydrogen using flare stacks. So we're going to need 2. It gives you just enough resources to make everything. And we're also going to have an extra ore crusher, because we're probably going to need it for later. They're also used as the basis. So you need the previous tier of a recipe to make the new version of that recipe. So we're going to take this electrolysis machine. I'm going to put it over here, up in this corner. And I'm going to leave a gap here, because I'm going to have to attach another pipe when my mods doesn't work anymore. That's good to know. Thankfully, you can pick up most items without breaking them. So place it 2 in. Let you put the pipes behind it with a gap between them, like so. We're going to take stone undergrounds and put them on my action bar along with the stone regular pipe, and we're going to put the electric poles here because we're going to need them. So we're going to put 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. That overdoes it, but it lights them all up, so that makes it easier to find. We're going to connect 1 to 1, like so. Then we're going to connect outside, outside, just like so. Wait a minute. Wrong side. That's my mistake. I can save resources by doing it a different way. So like that. Control, it's shift right click to select a recipe, which is evidenced by the green highlight around it when you're holding shift and hovering over the same or similar machines. And then you can see it has outputs highlighted. That's why we use alt mode. It's outputs on this side, inputs on this side, directed by the arrows. Otherwise you get this, and that's very hard to work with for even if you're playing solo. We're going to take one of these offshore pumps and we're going to plug it in right here. Hotkeys do work, so 5, 6, 7, all that. Note how those are now all full of water. Now, for the output, we're going to go under and out 1, like so. Because we'll eventually be putting belts onto this. We're also going to connect these up like such, so that all the same outputs are connected together. It is cheaper to do underground pipe at this point in the game than it is to do underground belt, and this is all temporary. This will get all torn down and repurposed later. We're going to take 2 flare stacks, one here, one here. And you just connect all the pipes to all the outputs like that. Okay. So now we're going to take one of these and we're just going to put it somewhere. Because right now we're just trying to get a blueprint. And I like to set these at their maximum that I can support into a single area. Control C to copy. Place down a few of them. We will end up using a lot of these for right now. I don't like wind turbines. They take way too much space in this game. So then you can control V to paste. Then you hit Q to allow you to just walk along a line. Nope, I messed up. And I will show you my mess ups. So watching this series with me, you will get to see when I fail. Most of the time to my own great expense. Like this, where I now get to sit here and essentially blindly put those back. Then we're going to sit here and put all these power poles in with the nice little grid lines of their power requirements. Technically, I can cram another couple in. Then you want to use as few poles as you can get away with, because at the beginning, all those resources are extremely limited. So now that we've got all that set up, we now need to grab a little bit of water to go into a liquefier. This does not have to be the height of beautiful. We'll do that later. Water fire to liquefier. Water into liquefier. Needs power. So we'll put that there. You're going to need a burner or crusher. Speaking of, while I'm doing this, I should be shift click to generate 2 200, or just generate a lot. Just left click will add one at a time. I can't remember if there's a way to add 5s, but not relevant right now. We're putting U to crush that. We're grabbing another one by hitting Q to select it, and we're going to do sapphirite in that. We're not putting a pipe in between these. And you can do R to rotate existing buildings. Add some cellulose fiber to this just to get it to start up. And for this one, so cellulose fiber doesn't have a whole lot of megajoules of energy. It has 1. There are much better fuel options that we'll have later. Right now, you're going to control click to pull from these. And all that slag here goes in here and gets processed into stone. Actually, it wants us to do stereotype. So I'm going to do this research up here, which is crush stereotype. It can crush sapphirite into iron plates and stereotype into copper. And you see how it says cost is 1 crushed stereotype. It means that you have to have this in order to finish the research. This is part of the tutorial. So ore generation or refining. So the mod Angel's Refining replaces all ore patches with new ones which you have to refine prior to smelting. All the smeltable ores from base, bobs, and YI, which I don't know what mod that one is, will be replaced by new compound ores. Sapphirite ore, stereotype, chrontinium, givelite, rubyite, and bobmonium. This one's errored because it doesn't exist, I think, in Seablock. Ore refining. The mined compound ores have to be refined before you're able to smelt them and cast them into plates. Higher yield from more advanced processes. Crushing works like this. We will cover this all in play instead of just through this. Sorting, water processing, petrochems, bioprocessing. We will be doing a fuel oil based build. And introduction. Alt mode. Right click to craft 5, shift left click to craft as much as possible. Ha! Electric network, steam power, which we'll get into soon. So, you see how this is crushed up 50 ore, 50 stone. We're going to take that 50 stone here and throw it into this. It's going to use 10 at a time, as per this recipe. 10 crushed stone, 100 water, crafting time 1 second, mineralized water output of 100. That 1 second is affected by the crafting speed of 1.5, which means it actually takes less than a second-ish. And now that produced me, this uses, 200 mineralized water, makes 55% chance for 2 sapphirite and a 70% chance for a stereotype. I happen to get all stereotype. Lucky me. So crushed stone will stack to 200. So we're just going to let that run again. And we're going to throw the stereotype in here to crush it down. It gets me a piece of stone, 2 crushed stereotype, and finished this. That research then got us landfill, which is free. We can now use crushed stone to make more sand, which is very important because, as you can see from our world map here, land is kind of at a premium, and I'm going to need a lot of it. So these will continue to produce power basically endlessly. T to start new research. You can see green is complete, red you don't have the prerequisites done. Brown or yellowish is where we get to make our next research path choice. So we're going to need to make an algae farm to make brown algae, which is used to give us access to basic circuits and copper cables. We're going to need alginic acid to make wooden boards. So we're going to start that research. And then you can see that leads to paper making and wood processing, both of which are going to be very, very important for us. You can see why I made 4 of these is because it lets me get a absolute massive amount of slag. And that produced more ore here. We're going to make another burner crusher because we're going to need it. And right click on crafting that's in progress to cancel it. 5 at a time for right clicks. Shift left click and it cancels all of it. Which is great for when you are building, because for right now, every time we're not doing something, we should be crafting cellulose fiber because we're going to need it. We're going to need a lot of it, to be frank. Right click will pick up half of a stack. And then you can just move it around. Shift C, because I've got even distribution installed, will allow me to split what I've got between all available inventories that are set to take it. So you can see this one's backed up. These are red because they lack any input. This one is output full, marked by the pause symbol here, but also you can see over on the right hand side of the screen, it says output full. So you come in here and you pick up the stone. That's all you do. And then you immediately fill this back up because you're going to need a lot of ore. So we need to make an algae farm. 5 basic circuit boards, 25 stone bricks, 10 iron plates, and 10 iron rods. Thankfully, we have just enough to make one. Technically, we have enough to make 2, but we're not doing that. Because I don't remember when I get the ability to make stone rods again. Oh, after I make circuit boards. Well, we'll wait. Hopefully, I didn't bungle this too badly. So this is just going to go down here. It makes basic algae from water. Make that there. So this pump outputs 1200 water a second. More than enough to keep up with everything. It takes a lot to overload one of these pumps. It's doable, don't get me wrong. But it takes a lot. So this takes its sweet time because it is a very slow. It takes 25% longer, roughly, than what the recipe says because it's a crafting speed of 0.75. It'll get replaced eventually. That made me some brown algae and some green algae, which means that this research is now done. It auto-completed paper making and wood processing. Wood processing lets you turn 12 cellulose fiber for a total of 12 megajoules of power into 2 wood pellets, each worth 8, which means it's worth 16. Means it's a 25% increase. 25% increase in the power output for free. Remember, that's for free. This will turn 8 wood pellets at, 16 per 2? So we're looking at 8 times 8, 64, into essentially 4 times 20 minus 4 times 2. 72 ends up being another increased yield in how much you can do with that same fuel. It's always worth it to upgrade how much fuel you produce from things. This also lets you make green algae into cellulose fiber, which is an automatable recipe that's very important. We have to make a basic circuit board in order to move on, where we can get burner inserters, which are basically worthless. Don't bother making them. Yeah, because the basic inserter, yes, it uses a little power, but it takes no burner inserters, so don't make burner inserters. They're not cost effective by any stretch. So while you can make stone furnaces, they will accept anything as an input. I prefer to do the stone filtering furnaces. Same cost. But they let you set your recipe. So the only thing that can go into it when you use something like even distribution is what's listed. And then I always try and turn my cellulose fiber first from green algae, then I'll make it from hand methods. And then I'm going to make some wood bricks, which are going to require me to make wood pellets, and this will auto craft the chain. So the nice thing about this is it will auto craft the entire chain all the way down. So I forgot to start this research. I'm gonna have to make a circuit board here. You can see this requires 3 copper cable and a wooden board. Wooden board requires paper. Paper requires cellulose pulp. Cellulose pulp requires alginic acid. Alginic acid takes forever. Automate this quickly. Trust me. Just automate it. Make cellulose pulp from the alginic acid that you just made. Make some paper. E to confirm. All green buttons can be done by clicking E. Like this. Make a wooden board. So I'm gonna make another couple wood boards. We're gonna put 2 in each of these, because that'll make these burn for slightly less than an eon. And when you craft things this way, as you're crafting things, they don't actually count in your inventory until they're made, which is quite helpful. And you will give me my first chests, belts, and inserters. As soon as I make some copper plates will then be used to make copper cables, which is over here. So if you need to make them, you can also search cable, circuit, and that's now done. That unlocked my electromagnetism lab, which unlocks sacrificial electromagnet. That gave me inserters, and it also gave me access to belts. We're gonna make a small stack of belts. So we're gonna pick up all this because I need to rearrange it. I'm not worried about losing a little bit of resources here and there. I just don't want to use up all my resources, if that makes any sense to anyone. And I always do belts on that one. I don't have splitters and underneaths yet. Right there. Bare minimum. And 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just picking out of that and dropping straight onto this belt. Then it's going to go from there into a burner inserter, like so, which handles that, which gets a piece of wood for right now. The burner inserter will also have an input this way for a chest. That way I can take extra materials, like extra slag, like this, and it can go in there directly. Then we're going to do the liquefier here. So underground pipes and belts have maximum lengths. I have not played this in a while, and they've changed a lot of things since I played. So if I remember right, you can insertion limits. A couple handfuls of inserters are not going to be the end of the world, but we do need them. Mineralized water for that. Crystallizer here. So that will automate that production line. Then we're going to go up here. Sapphirite, steatite. 1 each. And then this is why I use these stone filtering furnaces. Sapphirite, steatite. Grab this. And then you make a couple more chests, because you're always going to be making chests. It's one of those things that you end up automating fairly early on, but not immediately. I don't make wood chests because wood is much more valuable than you'd think. So this is where toggleable inserters is very helpful, because you can click on it and then tell it to pick up from a specific spot, like that. So when you go in here and you put 4 bricks in each of these, you can then come through and pick up from there. It's not perfectly automated because I don't have the ability to do that yet, but it does certainly work better than nothing. So you can limit chests, not something I really feel the need for yet. Make wooden fiber, like that. Let that do its thing. So these eventually will shut down. Once they've maxed out their inventory, this will shut down and stop producing more resources. And I am going to wait for this crafting to finish so I can have some extra wooden bricks. Yeah, and there's no harm in having extra chests floating around. There's never going to be a harm in that. So this will make me a nice little stack of iron and copper fairly cheaply. And inserters are smart enough to grab the correct thing from the chest for what the inventory they're connected to needs. Note how that needs 5 fuel. And then it leaves the rest in here. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to make me some more fuel while I do other things. Actually, what I need to do is make a electromagnetism lab, which requires all this stuff, which I'm just going to click it, make it do all the work because I'm being efficient. So making the lab will let me then make the research science, which then lets you do the first tier of science. As you can see, there's a lot of science. Green tier, red tier, blue tier, all the way up until you get to things like, oh, I don't know, FTL propulsion systems that require sacrificial electromagnets, green science, blue science, purple science, pink science, gold science, and space science. We're going for this. It's just gonna take a little bit. That's what we're doing for our playthrough. I will sit here with you every step of the way. You get to laugh at me when I fail and when I, end up dead. Because it's not an if, it's a win. So, that will be entertaining. So now that I've got the basics set up, I'm going to go ahead and see you guys next episode. Hope you enjoy.